Hey guys, I got a kind of a different type of video here. This car I was working on and I kind of just kept recording. It's a 94 Mustang. Some background on the vehicle is that I did find out in the video I wasn't really sure 100% what was going on with this thing. I did find out though afterwards. This vehicle was originally a 6-cylinder automatic car. It was converted to a 5-liter with a stick. The car was just in really bad shape when it came in, running wise. A lot of things weren't done right. You'll see in the video. I didn't know if you guys are interested in watching something like this. It's kind of a different than the norm. You know what I mean? You get a car in for a certain complaint or problem or something and you work on it. This vehicle was in because it was just a mess, and I know these cars pretty well. Most of you guys I'm sure know them pretty well. The systems are not that complicated to figure out, so I had time and I wanted to work on it, so I took it in. It's it's always fun to do something like this, I guess. Once what I mean, it's different. So again, it may not be exactly what you guys are looking for online or whatever, but if you came to the page and you see it, you want to check it out, some of you will enjoy it, some of you won't, like anything else. But I put it out there. I thought it was pretty cool. We got the car running very well. Like I said, in the video you're going to see this thing has got a lot of strange things going on here, and whoever was messing around with it, they didn't really know their way around the car too well, I guess. So the timing was way advanced when it came in and wouldn't even start. Grounds were broken. In the video I don't actually clarify that I did find the ground from the PCM broken for our sensors. Like I said, the timing was way advanced. We fixed all this stuff. The idle air control motor was no good in the vehicle. We changed that. The TPS had a broken, damaged connector. We fixed that. We replaced the connector on it. No coolant, well, low coolant in the car, very low. Disconnected coolant temperature sensor when it came in. Frayed wires everywhere. I think there's probably some other stuff. Also, the car has a cam in it, a small cam. The guy's not sure exactly the specs on it, but he said it's a step or two above stock. I believe that. It had aftermarket injectors in it, 24-pound injectors instead of the 19s. I see no reason for that even with a small cam in it. It's got the GT40 intake on it, off of a Ford Explorer, looks like. So the car was, the car has a couple of mods, so to speak, done to it, and it was just a, I call it the Humpty Dumpty Mustang because it's really just pieced together. It's something different though. Like I said, if you guys want to watch it, check it out. If you're not enjoying it, just shut it off. I hope you guys like it, and I'll see you at the shop. Okay, so here's a look under the hood of this Humpty Dumpty Mustang. First things first, here's a look inside. As you can see, As you can see, there's leftover parts everywhere. And, well, this car, when I first got it in here, tried to crank it, it was kicking back real hard. I had to kick the timing back a little bit. I didn't set it with a timing light or anything yet, just kicked it back a few degrees, maybe 15, just to get it to crank normally. You know, so we don't do any damage to anything. Also, well, the thing was loaded up pretty bad. It may start, may not. No, she will not start. It sounds like it's flooded. And yeah, you know, these kind of problems you have to, well, either run for your life and don't get involved, or you have to be confident enough in the system that you know the system well enough that you can, you know, you can check the car and find out what's going on. Keep in mind, this is not an OBD2 car, so plugging into this thing and, you know, getting all that pretty nice data and everything out of these, you know, that's non-existent on this car. I mean, you can get data, sure. It's OBD1 that's providing you have a scanner for it, which we do, but I'm going to do things manually at first here just to kind of see what's going on. And then, you know, we'll go from there. Alright, so first thing here is this car was flooding, loading up real bad. First thing I wanted to do was check the coolant temperature sensor on here and see where we're at with that, and then also the TPS and see if we're in clear flood. So I went to the coolant sensor and I found, obviously this is mine, here's the coolant sensor plug right here, and obviously here's the coolant sensor and it's disconnected. The guy also was complaining that fans don't work. He jumped them or something. I'm not worried about that right now. I just want to make sure about the engine running issues first, try to get that sorted. You have to pick something on these cars and go with it. First thing would be running conditions, running problems. So what I did was I wanted to make sure I have my, obviously these connected, disconnected, everything is damaged here, but again, I'm not worried about all these things yet. I just want to make sure these aren't shorting together, these wires, okay? This is simple 2-wire sensor with 5-volt reference and your signal return, which is your ground. So we're going to check here. I should put the key on, make sure the key is on. It's not. So I'll turn the key on. And, oh, there goes my fan. Okay, and there goes my fan again. 4, 6, yeah, we're okay. I'm going to go to the ground side just to make sure I have no voltage in there, right? And, okay, so I have almost 4 volts in the ground side of this. This signal return, I'll show you here on the diagram if you guys can see this. Let's see. This is the signal return I highlighted here from the computer. This is your PCM. And this wire that I'm checking at the coolant temperature sensor, this thing goes to everything. This goes to the intake air temp. This goes to your throttle position sensor, your EGR position sensor, and then it just keeps going here. It goes to the clutch pedal switch. It goes to so many things in the car. It's a sensor ground. Now, keeping in mind that this thing was a conversion, they switched this from probably a 6-cylinder model. I didn't run the VIN to check for sure, don't care really, but I'm assuming from what I'm seeing here that this thing was a bad conversion. Alright, they wanted to go fast and excuse me, they wanted to go fast and they, you know, they threw a 5-liter in it and harness. And then from there proceeded to do everything completely wrong. So this probably has a broken wire going to the computer, or the computer itself is no good. You know, that circuit, the ground is bad, or it lost the ground. I mean, it's so many things that it could be. I'm not worried about that either right now, though. You're probably saying, well, you should be. Yeah, well, I'm not worried about the root of that problem right now. What I'm worried about is making sure that this vehicle is capable of running correctly. So what I'm going to do is, being that that's a ground, I'm going to substitute a ground. Okay, I'm going to take my jumper lead here. Okay, I'm going to go to the negative side of the battery, if I can grab it anywhere. That's no good. I want to go right to the battery so I know I have a good ground. Okay, I don't want any, you know. I want to actually demonstrate. I want to show you. I'm going to take my meter first. Okay, and I'm going to go into. I'm going to plug this in. Okay, and I'm going to give you a reading. What's up, Chris?
You got a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, look.
All right. So what I was saying here is, I wanted to show you. We have 4 volts at our coolant temperature sensor right now. Remember, we have no ground here. Okay. Make sure I got a good ground. Okay, so we're fluctuating. It's 4 volts. It's all over the place. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my jumper here that I hooked up to my battery, and I'm going to carefully go to the ground, our sensor ground. And as you can see now, we have a huge difference in our coolant sensor reading. All right. Not sure why we're getting such a fluctuation here. Maybe a connection. May not be, but we do have a huge difference. Here we go. So, all right, if I take our ground off, right, we're going to jump up the voltage, obviously. So this is huge, guys. All right, this is huge in getting to our from our, you know, our repair here. You know what I mean? This ground controls a lot of stuff. Okay, so first thing was to fix is obviously our ground. I'm not going to do that right now because I need to know what else they have going on here with this vehicle. All right, there's this car was this is Humpty Dumpty. Okay, we have to put them back together, so it's not one thing. Like I said, I kicked this timing back a little. I did lock the distributor back up, at least snugged it up, and just to, you know, to make sure I start it. You know what I mean? I had to make sure it'll crank right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to start this thing again with our ground on, and again our timing kicked back a bit, but we'll see where we go from here. Now, this car is a stick. You know, I guess you guys figured that already when I mentioned clutch switch. Make sure it's in neutral, right? I'm not trying to be silly here. These conversion cars, a lot of guys neglect to hook up the clutch switch. All right, this is one of them. Okay, I could crank this thing with no clutch. So be really careful. I'm just saying, like, you know, you got a guy working with you or something standing in front of the car, or he's cranking and you're standing in front of the car. It's in gear. You're gonna get hurt. I helped it out there a little, gave it a little gas. It was flooded, okay? Now, car started right up for the most part. All right, we'll shut it off. All right, it was flooded. That's why I had to hold the throttle open, put it in clear flood. Again, no ground. You know, this thing doesn't know what it's doing. This computer doesn't know how to react. All right, this is an E4 system. This is, like I said, OBD1. There are things here. The ground needs to be fixed, and I believe this car needs to be fine-tuned. And how well it's ever going to run, I don't know. It's going to run a lot better than it did when it came in. Okay. Now our fans on this vehicle should work correctly now. Once we drop to about 0.59, 0.60, and our voltage on the coolant temperature sensor, our fan should kick on. This thing is running like it's got an E-cam in it. Don't know if it has a cam in it or not. I doubt it, but I won't overlook that either. Now, the next thing I want to do here is set the timing. And I want to set the face idle on this vehicle, and I want to see if it smooths out. Alright? More than likely our timing is going to be way out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up our timing light here. I'm not going to waste time on the video, and I'll put it back on when we're ready. Okay, I've got my timing around 10, 12 degrees. I'm going to mark it on there and make sure later, but we're close. Got response. Taking my idle back a little. And of course you won't run. Alright, I brought the idle up just a little bit just to get it to run. Get a little more just to keep it stable. I'm going to go to my TPS, which is at a volt. I feel like we got a problem here. TPS. Yeah, we have a problem here at this TPS connector. Everything's kind of slapped together. Okay, as you can see, I'm going to take these wires off. You can see they were playing around here with this. This harness, again, was thrown into this car, and poorly. Quite poorly. This needs a lot of attention here. That's my signal. I'm going to just go back in there a second with the meter. Volt. Be really careful when you're doing this kind of stuff. Make sure the wires are not going to get caught up in your pulley or anything. These engines were notorious for TPS problems, so that's fine and dandy, but with the harness issues we have here, I'm concerned with, wiring as well. That's why I'm checking these circuits. Seems like our idle motor's not working either. I thought that was stuck. So he needs a few things here. Needs a few things. But we're getting there, right? This is progress. Alright guys, so we got some more information on our GT here, or converted GT. It seems that this car had injectors also installed in it from the customer. He put 24-pound injectors. These vehicles come with 19s out of the factory, so he wasn't real clear on why he put them in. The car doesn't have a power adder of any kind, and it's, if anything, it has a small cam in it, maybe. Nothing
nothing to warrant putting bigger injectors in it, that's for sure. So anyway, we're not going to really pay much attention to that. I informed him that he should really replace them, put them back to stock. The car would run better, be more efficient on gas. Not that I think that matters anymore with this thing, but you know, it is a point. What we did was we changed our idle air control motor, which we checked before, found it to be faulty. We replaced the TPS pigtail, which was also faulty, and we set our timing on this vehicle at about 10 degrees. So there's your startup. You can see the IAC is working now. You see now the car is idling, nicer. The idle base idle still needs to be set on this, but I can see that the IAC is trying to keep this thing running. It is working. If you load it, the vehicle has no AC. You can't turn that on. So I'm just turning the wheel here a little bit, just to, you can see the IAC is working. The base idle, like I said, needs to be set, but this is probably as far as we're going to go with this vehicle for now. The customer will be happy. He can drive it. It's going to idle. I'm going to set the idle for him, and he'll be ready to go. And then he's got to change his injectors. All right, so we got our Humpty Dumpty Mustang running now, and as you can hear, she's running much better. She just still have to relearn. The thing had very little antifreeze in it. Our coolant sensor, our coolant temperature sending unit was faulty, so we really didn't know where the temperature was at on this thing for sure. So he wanted the gauge working. We fixed that, and I was monitoring temperature through the coolant temperature sensor, knowing what the voltages what the voltages are going to read roughly, equating to our temperature in Fahrenheit. I was noticing it was going high. This car was running about 230 degrees. So, we put our we fixed the gauge, and then we got antifreeze back in this thing. It came in, it was pretty much low on antifreeze. Runs much better. It does have to relearn. It's going to have to be driven a little bit. I want to make sure I get all of the air out of the system for the AC. I'm sorry, the AC for the coolant. And it definitely needs a coolant flush by the looks of this antifreeze. It is circulating. Hoses are hot. And we're going to probably just go on and check the oil pressure gauge for them and wrap this thing up. But the car's running really well. You should be happy. So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.